So next part of the topic is Green Revolution, where the government introduced so many varieties of seeds, chemical fertilizers and irrigation techniques to increase the production. So there were lots of problems by the farmers and there are problems of the farmers, and so in order to increase the production, the government has introduced a green revolution in 1968, which involved higher yielding varieties of seeds, fertilizers and irrigation techniques. So along with this, government offered subsidies on the seeds and fertilizers. They offered discounts, and some amount of money were given in their accounts for buying seeds and fertilizers, and farmers could buy their seeds from the markets, from the seed banks. They were offered loans so that they can upgrade their tools and improve the irrigation in the fields. So these techniques were first implemented in the Punjab region and were very successful. Subsequently, this combination of high-yielding varieties of seeds, chemical fertilizers and irrigation were also applied to other parts of the country. So first of all, these techniques were implemented in Punjab region, and later on it was applied to all the other parts of the country. So this was about Green Revolution, where we can see the use of high-yielding variety of seeds, chemical fertilizers and irrigation techniques. Now, what are the problems faced by the farmers? Even though the Green Revolution improved India's agricultural output, even though there were lots of products that were produced during Green Revolution, there were many problems that were associated with it. So number one, the cost of this kind of agriculture is very high, even though the government offers subsidies. Even there are certain loans, discounts and all, but still the cost of implementing this type of agriculture is too high, and so the farmers were facing the problem. High-yielding varieties of crops are more sensitive to pest and insect attacks. This means that the farmers have to spend more on spraying insecticides and pesticides, otherwise the entire crop could be ruined. So what happens, this type of crops, the high yielding varieties of seeds were used, so they are more sensitive to the attack of the insects and the pests. So what is to be done? The farmers need to spray the insecticides and pesticides. So they need to spend more money on this insecticide and pesticide. If they don't spray insecticide and pesticide, then the whole crop will be destroyed. Ruined means destroyed. Now, the high-yielding varieties of crops require more nutrients and water. Despite adding chemical fertilizer, the fields are severely stripped of nutrients. In the long run, this is very harmful for the fertility of the soil. So, when the farmers are using high-yielding varieties, as we have discussed in the Green Revolution part, so when they are using the high-yielding varieties of crops, these crops require nutrients and water in more amount. So, even if they are adding more and more fertilizers, the fields are deprived of their nutrients. Very less nutrients are there in the fields because these plants need a lot of nutrients and water. So this is harmful for the fertility of the soil. Slowly the fertility of the soil, the production capacity of the soil will reduce, and it is very harmful. Though irrigation is essential for agriculture, certain modern irrigation practices are harming the soil. Tube wells which access deeper reserves of groundwater are pushing the water table. Then this that means it will push the water table lower, thus creating shortage of water for future use. So as different irrigation methods are used, now modern irrigation practices are harming the soil. Now tube wells which access deeper reserves of the groundwater, they will push the water table lower and lower below the ground, and it will be very difficult for the storage of water to remain as it is. So there will be shortage of water in future because tube wells access deeper reserves of groundwater and they are pushing the water table down lower. Water table is the layer of the water underground, so it will push and then it will create a shortage of water. So often irrigation canals are built for drawing water from far off rivers and dams to supply water in other areas. So as you all know, we have discussed that irrigation canals are built which are drain-like, and they bring the water from the rivers and the dams and the streams nearby. So what happens, these canals may often lead to waterlogging. There may be lots of water accumulated in the canals, and this will increase the soil salinity, making the soil infertile over time. That means it will increase the saltiness of the soil, and this will decrease the fertility. That means it will decrease the capacity of the soil to grow the crops. Infertile means the soil will be very inactive. It will not be allowed. That means it will not allow the crops to grow very easily in that type of soil which is having a lot of salt. Salinity is saltiness. Now, chemicals that is used in fertilizers and pesticides often seep into the crops, making the crops dangerous for human consumption. So, if more and more chemicals and fertilizers are used, this will be very difficult for human being to consume it. It is very dangerous because these are all poisons. The newer high-yielding seeds being introduced today are genetically modified. There are concerns that such genetically modified plants could cause serious health problems in humans. So nowadays, just now as we have told in Green Revolution, high-yielding seeds are introduced. So genetically they are modified. They are changed by changing the genes. When you grow older, when you will go to higher classes, you will understand about genes. So they are modified. That means they are made by man by modification. So these are genetically modified plants which are very problematic. They can cause serious health problems in human. So this was about the Green Revolution and its problems. And next topic is shortage of food, hunger and famine. So despite so many offers, parts of India still suffer from shortage of food. So many things are there, so many programs are there, revolutions, Green Revolution and all. But still there are shortage of food because of various other reasons. So number one reason is weather condition. So whenever there is drought and flood, the crops are ruined. You all know, you have seen flood and you have seen droughts in television news channels. So there's a lot of crop failure. There are people don't get enough food, and so government has to buy the grains from other countries. This is very important because if there are natural calamities like drought and flood, there are a lot of loss in the crop. And so government has to buy the crops from the other markets, from other countries to feed the people of the country itself. Hoarding and black marketing. Sometimes the crop yield is sufficient, but the grain wholesalers hoard it in their godowns and do not sell it. So even if the production is much more, sometimes the wholesalers, what they'll do, they'll store it in their homes, in the godowns, and they'll not sell it. This creates scarcity in the market. Even if the production is more, the wholesalers hoard it in their godowns. So there's a lot of hoarding, there are a lot of storage in the godowns, and they don't sell it in the market. Then they sell it in the market with high prices illegally, which is called the black market, and they earn their profit. So this also creates a scarcity of food in the country. And sometimes the grains are stored in the huge silos. They are stored in the silos and they get spoiled. Silos are this. That means huge storage areas can be called as silos, and these are, there are a lot of loss in the crops because of moisture that can get inside this, and there are pests like rats also eating the grains. So this will all make the grains unfit for eating. And so even if the production is more, sometimes there is huge loss during storage, and so this will lead to very harmful effect, and this is very unfit for human consumption. So there is a scarcity of food again, even if the production is high. So next, as you can see, this Bengal famine of 1943, there were millions of deaths in Bengal, and it was said that this famine was a result of human actions. Famine was created by man. India was under the British rule that time, and Britain was fighting against Japan in the Second World War. So many rice fields in Bengal were burned by the British to prevent the Japanese from using the food grains, and the farmland was taken over as landing areas for the aeroplanes and for army and the refugee camps. So several people lost their homes and many thousand lost their lives due to acute shortage of food, because British people took many rice fields in Bengal and they were burned by them, and they were taken for the landing areas of aeroplanes, for army and the refugee camps. The lands were taken. So there was a lot of shortage of food during this time. So that is created by man, the Bengal famine of 1943. Next is the public distribution system. As the system of ration card, the government has set up a public distribution system to make available to everyone. Another system, food like wheat, sugar and rice, is given to people through fair price shops. So fair price shops are there from where we can get the ration. And this is a public distribution system, so that everyone can have the food that is available in our country. So poor people are issued ration cards by the government. These cards allow them to buy essential food items at affordable prices from these fair price shops. So fair price shops are there where poor people can show their ration card and can buy the items at very less price. So this is called the public distribution system. A shop is there where products are sold, the crops are sold in very less amount. People have to pay very less for a kg of rice and sugar and wheat and all. And so poor families can buy their food items which are needed with a very less price. So this is called as public distribution system, the system of ration card, which is done actually by the government. So today we have discussed about Green Revolution and the problem associated with it, and we have also discussed about the cause of the shortage of food and the public distribution system. Hope you all have understood. Just give a reading and try to understand the lines.